Take your sticker off. Nice job. And we're going to read Elizabeti's Doll by Stuve, Bodeen, illustrated by Christy, Hale. Thank you, Benji. Oh, look at that.
Little baby.
Elizabeti had a new baby brother named Obadiah. Elizabeti watched Mama take care of him, and she wanted to care for her own baby. She didn't have a doll, so she went outside and picked up a stick. She tried to hug it, but it poked her, and she dropped it on the ground. Then Elizabeti picked up a rock. It was just the right size to hold, and it didn't poke Elizabeti when she hugged it. She kissed the rock and named it Eva. When baby Obadiah had a bath, he splashed and got Mama wet. When Eva had a bath, she behaved fairly nicely and only splashed a little. Mama fed Obadiah and he gave a loud burp. Elizabeti fed Eva, but she was too polite to burp. Mama changed the cloth wrapped around Obadiah's bottom and was very messy. Elizabeti was relieved to find that Eva's bottom was still clean. When Mama did her chores, she tied Obadiah onto her back with a light cloth called the kanga. When Elizabeti did her chores, she also tied Eva onto her back with the kanga. Mama had to help a little. Elizabeti went to visit her friend. Yeah, Rahali. Rahali laughed when she saw that Elizabeti had a rock for a doll. But Rahali didn't have a doll either. So when Elizabeti left, Rahali found her own rock and named it Mulusi. When Elizabeti got home, it was time for her to get water from the village well. She took Eva out of her kanga and laid her on the ground near some other rocks so she wouldn't be lonely. Then Elizabeti wrapped the kanga onto a small bundle, put it on top of her head, and placed a water jug on top of the kanga. This was how she always carried water and other heavy things. Elizabeti soon returned with the water and took it to her sister Pindo, inside the cooking hut where all the family meals were made. Then Elizabeti ran outside to get Eva. But Eva was gone. Elizabeti looked all around, but she couldn't find Eva. Mama found a new rock and gave it to Elizabeti. Elizabeti shook her head when she saw it. The rock was just a rock. Pindo also brought Elizabeti a rock, but it wasn't Eva either. Elizabeti was very sad and sat quietly until it was time to help Pindo in the cooking hut. Look at Elizabeti, looks really sad, doesn't she? The family had rice for dinner every night, and it was Elizabeti's job to put the pot of rice on the fire pit, which was made of 3 large stones. Elizabeti sadly filled the pot with water and set on the stones to boil. But one of the stones wasn't a stone at all. It was Eva. Elizabeti called the mama, and together they moved the pot of water and rolled Eva away from the fire. Although Eva was a bit dirty, she hadn't been hurt. Pindo ran outside to get a new stone for the fire pit, which is just how poor Eva had become lost. Eva sat quietly while Elizabeti cleaned her off and hugged her. At bedtime, Mama sang a lullaby and rocked Obadiah in her arms until he fell asleep. Elizabeti sang a lullaby too, but she fell asleep before Eva did. Mama covered Elizabeti and Eva with a blanket. She smiled and thought that one day Elizabeti would make a fine mother. Eva thought so too. The end. And that was called Elizabeti's doll.